All right. Hi, my friends. So this is lesson 1.5. This is a lesson called Rename Numbers. So it's kind of really important that you have a firm grasp on naming them in the first place. So if this is really challenging for you, let me know and we can work together on it, okay? So lesson 1.5 is rename numbers. The essential question is, how can you rename a whole number? So, and here's our warm-up question. Pittsburgh International Airport had approximately 714,587 passengers in August of 2009. You're going to round that number of passengers to the nearest 10,000. So for this warm-up question, first and foremost, you have to know where the 10,000s place is. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. Okay? So now I want you to take a second, pause your video, and solve this. I'm actually even going to walk away for a second. So even if you don't pause your video, you're going to have to just sit through blank. So you kind of have to solve it. So solve this right now. Round to the nearest 10,000. Remember, you look next door, you circle that other number, and you determine which thing you're going to do. You stay or go up. It's really messy. Go up. So solve it right now. All right, that should be plenty of time for you to do that. So when we look at it, we're going to do this. My 4, I'm looking in my sections, my 4 tells me to stay, okay? So my 1 is going to stay a 1. Everything on the right of the thing that I am rounding to becomes a 0. Everything to the left of the place value I'm rounding to comes straight down. So my estimate is 710,000. And here's like a little reminder. The digits to the left of the place value we're rounding stay the same. So here you go, the left, okay? So there we go. That's our warm-up question for today. Being able to identify what place value things are in is the most important part of this chapter. If you're still struggling with that, we will find a way to help you with it, okay? So we're going to talk about renaming numbers, and this is us using models. So we're going to use a large cube and flats to show 1,200. Here's my large cube. It has 1,000 little cubes in it. And here are my hundreds flats. They have 100 little cubes in each one. So I have 1,000. So it has 1 large cube and 2 flats. Another name for 1,200 is 1,200s. I mean, when I say it, you hear it, 1,200, 1,200s. It's the same thing. So that is using models to show that. But now we're going to talk about showing it a different way. So now we're only using flats. So let's count up how many flats I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Where else do you see the number 12? Think about that. I have 12 flats. I also see the 12 right here. If I cover up my zeros, I see a 12. And then I also think to myself, well, now that I see my 12 here, so I see 12, and then I think, how many zeros do I have? 2. Which one of my place values has exactly 2 zeros? My hundreds. So it's 12 hundreds. Okay, which is the same thing right here. Another name for 1200 is 12 hundreds. So I took my thousands cube, flipping back, I took this cube and I sliced it up and took the 10 flats out of that. And then here are my original 2 flats. These are the flats that I had at the beginning. So now I have 1200 flats. So I have 12 hundreds, okay? We can also use, oh, actually, we'll answer these first. So when we talk about renaming numbers, we can also use longs. So longs, you sometimes call them 10 longs. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Can you model 1,200 using only longs? Think about it for a second. Absolutely. You can definitely do that. Yes. And then it says explain. If I were to model 1,200 using only longs, I would use 120 longs. Because each one of my hundreds flats, that if we pop back, I have 12 hundreds flats. Each one of those 100 flats breaks into 10 of these. So really what I did was I sliced up, you can slice the 1,200 flats into 10 into 10 longs each. So 10 times 12 equals 120. That's how I got this number. I got 120 because I split each of my 10 flats into 10 longs, each of my 100 flats, excuse me, into 10 longs. And then I did 10 times 12 and got 120. So let's look at this other question. You renamed 1,200 as hundreds. How can you rename 1,200 as tens? So I kind of just did it, didn't I? Because I said that I need 120 longs. And I know that in each long, there are exactly 10 cubes. So, yes. And we know it's a yes so far. So I kind of have this too. But to think back, remember when I covered up this and covered up that? Let's do it with this now. How many zeros are in a 10? 1. So I'm going to cover up my 1 0 and I end up with 120. You can rename 1,200 as tens because there are 120 tens in 1,200. Okay? So yes, you can. You're not always going to have a model, unfortunately, because some of these really big numbers that we're working with, like in the 100,000s, it would be really hard to have models or even to draw the models for that, okay? So sometimes we will use a place value chart. So you can also use a place value chart to help you. So we're gonna look at all of the different ways to rename 500,000. First, 500,000s, because that's where we are. We're in the 100,000s. Okay. The next one, we're keeping all of our numbers are not changing or moving. Now we're looking at 50 10,000s. Moving on to the next one. We're looking at 500 thousands. Thousands. And if you think about it, how many zeros are in 1,000? 1, 2, 3. The number of zeros left over after you take out this number will tell you the last name of the number, okay? So now we're at 5,000 hundreds. I have my 2 zeros here, like there are 2 zeros in 100. And I have another number. Remember, your comma goes every 3. 1, 2, 3. 50,000 tens or 500,000 ones. If you notice, every time you pop up to the next or pop to the next place value, one more zero is getting added on here. 5, 5. The 5 stays the same the whole time. We've got 1 0, we've got 2 zeros, 3 zeros, 4 zeros, and finally 5 zeros, okay? So there are a couple different ways you can check and make sure your answer is correct. So let's do one together. So we're going to try this one. We're renaming the number 32, we're writing 32 hundreds on the place value chart. So if it's hundreds, we know we need to have 2 zeros because in 100, there are 2, that looks kind of like a face. There are 2 zeros, okay? 2 zeros. So now the other part of the number that we have is 32. So start with your 2. The 2 goes in the next possible place value, which is the hundreds, which 32 hundreds. So that's where it should end. And then the 3 goes in the thousands place. So now what is 32 hundreds in standard form? In standard form, it is 3,200, okay? Let's try one more on here. Let's do, instead of 32 hundreds, I'm going to tell you you have...
Mrs. Stams, please contact the office, Mrs. Stams.
I'm going to tell you that you have 55,000, okay? I want you to tell me what it would be in tens. So here we go. I'm gonna put my standard form. It also looks like this. So I'm going to take this and plug it into my hundreds or my place value chart. So I can use the standard form to do it, and I can do 0, 0, 0, 5, 5. Perfect. I also could have said I have 55 thousands. So my digit ends in its last name. I would have 55 thousandths and fill in with zeros. Now I want to rename it as tens. How many zeros are in 10? One lonely zero. Okay, so that means that this right here is how many tens I have. I have 5,500 tens. Taking it one step further, maybe I want to do it in ones. That should be easy. It's just 55,000. I have 55,000 ones. What if I want to know what this would be in hundreds? I want to know what it is in hundreds now. So I have 55 thousandths. Here's where I'm looking at. There are 2 zeros in 100. So I'm going to cross those out, and I'm left with 550 hundreds. Okay. So using a place value chart, I think, is super, super, super easy and important, okay? So we're gonna do some together really quick. I want you to pause your video. I'm gonna step out of your way as soon as I finish erasing. And I want you to do these problems. So pause your video, do these problems, and I will see you back as soon as you're finished with them. Okay, now you've paused your video and you've done all of that. We're gonna do number one, 150, I almost said and, we already know, we can't say and. 150, and I want it as tens. How many zeros are in 10? 1. I'm gonna get rid of my 0, and I have 15 tens left, okay? Now, 1,400. I want it in hundreds. How many zeros are in 100? 2. Goodbye, goodbye. I have 14 hundreds, which is, if you say 1,400, you can say, another way to say it is 1,400, okay? Last one. I have 2,300s. And I want it as hundreds. So I know I have at least 300s, and I have to think to myself, what does 2,000s look like as hundreds? Or I can think to myself, let's write this in standard form. That'll be easier if I do it that way. I have 2,300s, and there are 2 zeros in 100. So I have 2,300s, okay? Let's move on to the next one. You can use the place value chart to help you on this one too. I have 570,000. I want to know if I plug that into my place value chart, it's actually 57 what? Here's my 57. Where does it end? It ends in the 7,000. Like, if I cover up all my zeros, it ends in the 10,000s. So I have 57 10,000s. Now I'm going to erase on my place value chart because I'm going to use it for the next one. I have 29 thousandths. So the last name tells me where my 9 is going to go. It's going to go right here. That means my 2 goes here, and I fill the rest in with zeros. So it looks like this, 29,000. Okay? All right. So far, so good. Your job today. You need to do the exit ticket for 1.5. It's really important you do those exit tickets. When you're finished, do your best to log into Think Central. As a reminder, it is the same email you use to log into your Chromebook or your Google Classroom. Same email, same password. But you also have to make sure that you put in the school information. You need to have United States, Connecticut, Killingly School District, and Killingly Memorial Elementary School plugged in. If you hit Save My School, it should save it for you, okay? After you finish those things, make sure you do your daily extra math. Extra math is a daily thing you need to do every day. Then you can do any assignments that are on Freckle or any fact practice on Freckle, and then you can use Sumdog or Prodigy for some extra math if you have time. That's it. That's all you have to do today. Please let me know if you have any questions, and feel free to watch this video more than once. Feel free to rewind and go back and start over if you're not understanding it. Feel free to Google another YouTube video that talks about this kind of stuff if it's not making sense the way I explained it. Do whatever works for you to make sure you get it, okay? And I will see you guys later. Bye.